There's Wilmer. How are you doing, sir? Can you hear me? Glad to know it. James, Riley. Good. I'm always concerned about that. I don't know why. The little bar at the bottom of my screen that shows the mic level just it doesn't move much. So I guess that's why I'm more concerned about it. But I guess I don't need to be. So I hope everybody had time to take a break for a few minutes after Tony's live stream. Yeah, I'm not sure how this live stream's supposed to work. You know, you can do the reminder video. Hey, Dave, or the reminder video, but it seems like that there would be something on the reminder video that says start live stream or something instead of having to, do a separate one. So I don't know, or maybe I'm doing something wrong. They make it more complicated than it needs to be. So actually, I've got a couple things I wanted to cover tonight before um, we get started on the decals for the F unit. So everybody saw my picture. So I did one side of it, as you can see, because it's the other side's just going to be replicated. So so I did one side so we can see what it looks like, and then that's what the other side's going to look like too. So. So Dave, I did not see your video. I might have to look at it. There has been so many videos coming out lately. I just can't keep up with them all. And I know I'm just adding to the problem. So, because I mean, there's just videos, at least 7 or 8 every day, and it's just trying to get to all of them is not easy. So, but I will definitely go and check it out. Oh, not yours? Okay. Yeah, put the link up to it. That's fine. Please do. There's no moderator on my channel, so so there's nobody to call you down whenever you promote something. No, that's fine. Yeah, absolutely. So, a couple other things I wanted to go over before we get started on the decal. Oh, good. Okay. Glad to know that, Wilmer. I will take a look at it. Yeah, throw the link up. I'll definitely look at it. I've been doing. I have actually been working on train stuff. Believe it or not, not just this. I've got my 30 projects going at one time, like I normally do. Um, yes, yes, Riley. The just like on this side, you can see it's broken between on either side of the KCS. And actually, I'll point something out about that in a minute. Uh, so, two things. One is this: I mentioned on a video several months ago. I got this building. This was a train show back in October. I got this little building, and it's actually made out of tin. And it was soldered together. I just thought it was a cool looking little building, especially being it was all metal, and I paid $5 for it. The only thing it didn't have any windows or doors. It didn't have the roll up door, and it didn't have any window frames or anything. So I got those and put it in there, and then as you can see, put the plastic in it uh, to for the glass, and then I put a roll up door on the front. So um, I thought this would just look nice on the layout somewhere. However, I, I don't know what this is going to be. And it doesn't have to be a rail served business. It could just be a business in the town or something. So if anybody has any little ideas, maybe what this business could be, I would appreciate it. Like I said, it doesn't have to be rail served. It could just be in the town. Um, I don't know what it would be. So I might put some interior details. As you can see, there's none in there. So I'll probably put a floor dividing the first and second floors, and maybe some machines in there or something like that. Hey, Anthony, Dwight. So if you, like I said, if anybody has an idea about what this should be on my layout, just let me know. So the other thing that I've been doing is, as you've, yeah, it does kind of look like a foundry or something. That's what I was kind of thinking, more metal work, tool and die, or some kind of metal shop or something like that. It could be, Anthony. It it actually had another building with it. Yeah, that's right. You can put a model railroad on the upper floor. It it had another building with it, but somebody had bought the other building separate before I had got there and left. They didn't want this one. So I thought it was kind of strange that they didn't buy this with it, especially being that it was so cheap. Um, yeah, Riley. I don't know if it could be a mill. I'm trying to think about down here where I'm modeling. Um, I'd have to look at that. Yeah, that's something else. Um, maybe I'll have to do some more exploring in this area and see if I come across anything that looks kind of like this. So if you if you notice on one of my very early videos, I show the KCS bicentennial unit, which of course I'm modeling the year 1976, so that's why I have the bicentennial unit. Or more correctly, that's why I model 1976, is because I have the bicentennial unit. So if you've KCS had two bicentennial units. They had an SD40 616, and they had an SD40-2 that that was a bicentennial unit, and they were both pretty much exactly the same. There were some minor differences in the paint, but not a lot. Um, here is, and I will get my, I'll turn my camera around so you can see. Here's the SD40-2 just out of the paint shop. So I don't know how it looks to you. That pink looks kind of orange. It's actually pink. You can see some of these on the internet if you look them up. But that was KCS's bicentennial unit, just like the SD40 that I painted. But I'm going to paint this one also. And I wasn't, aside from the fact that my paints had kind of dried up from when I did my original one, the I wasn't exactly happy with the paint on my first one. So I remixed. That's what I've been doing for 2 days, is I've been remixing all the paints again. So here they are. I've remixed everything, and I've just taken, what I did is I took some of the pictures off the internet, compared them, kind of, and also knowing that that it was designed by crayons. Um, I kind of kept that in the back of my mind. Not that the paint shop would have followed the exact formula to match a crayon, but no. But looking at the pictures, and I kind of tried to take an intermediate color in all the, because every photograph's going to be a little bit different in color. So yeah, Riley, it is testers. So I spent the weekend, actually the entire weekend, mixing all of the paints up. So here they are. And I had to mix them because there's nothing that matches it exactly. So I had to mix them myself, and it's just experimentation. So and just so you know, I don't know if y'all have ever mixed your own paints or not, but it's not hard. It's just tedious and time consuming, especially when you're trying to match a photograph. But it's like I said, it's easy. It's just time consuming. So you've just got to keep a couple things in mind when you're mixing paint. And I had a piece of paper. Here it is, a blank piece of paper. So if you want to make something light, you put white in it. If you want to make it darker, you put black in it. I mean, that's easy, easy enough. The other thing is, besides lightening and darkening it, is making it dull. So dulling a paint color is different from lightening it or darkening it. So the way you dull a paint color is you draw your color wheel. Does everybody remember their color wheel? I think I learned this in first grade. Are they still teaching that kind of stuff in first grade? I don't know. You learned your 3 primary colors and your 3 secondary colors just in a color wheel like that. So I'm gonna write up here the colors, and orange. Okay, so come on, Wilmer. I know you've only been out of school a couple years now. So here's the color wheel. So the primary colors, are blue, red, and yellow, right? And the secondary colors are green, purple, and orange. So if you mix red and yellow, you get orange. You mix yellow and blue, you get green. You mix blue and red, you get purple or violet, depending on how you learned it. Yeah, I know. So the way to dull a color is to use the color that's opposite of it on the color wheel. So if you want to dull down green, you mix red in. If You want to dull down blue, you mix orange. If you want to dull down purple, you'll mix yellow in with it. So that's how you dull colors. Take the brightness out of them. Is you mix the opposite color on the color wheel, and that's as long as you've got those 6 colors, you can make. Actually, if you had just the three primary colors, you could make. Hey, Sparky, you could make any color you wanted to. You don't have to buy it because you could just make any color you wanted to. So so that's when you're mixing paints. That's the way to dull your colors down. And if you'll notice, you've just got to experiment. That's all you can do. You can't. I just said it. Like I said, it took me almost 2 days to make all 10 of these colors that I had to make. Good evening to you again, Sparky, and the Closet Branch. Hello. So so that's it. I now have all my colors mixed. I can go ahead and paint my second bicentennial unit. I've already got an Athearn SD40-2, one of the ready to run ones. And they are very. How do you dull gray? Well, with gray you can really only lighten it or darken it because it's just black and white. So that's all you can do for gray is you either lighten or darken it. There's really no dulling down a gray. Since you've got two things on the opposite end of this spectrum, you've got black, which is the absence of all color, and white, which is the presence of all color. So it's just black and white, just graying. It's just adding certain amounts of black and white. And like I say, for any color you want to lighten or darken, it's black or white. But if you want to dull it, you use the opposite side of the color wheel to do that. So, and experiment with it. Get your picture of your favorite engine and start and compare the paint. Yes, and these are all just testers paints, are all they are. I tried like Vallejo paints for a while and stuff like that, and I'm just not happy with them. They're a pain to spray, even with the stuff you put in your airbrush to keep it from drying so quickly. It still dries on the tip of your airbrush, and it doesn't give you a good hard finish like enamel paints do. So I've just gone back. The only thing I use water-based paints for now is for weathering. I don't, and usually only weathering with a, as far as making thinned paints for weathering using, what am I trying to say? Yeah, I'm getting old too. I can't think of the word. But I will water down a water-based paint and use it for weathering, and that's about all I use them for. So I just think enamel paints are the way to go. It gives you a much more durable finish, and if you do it correctly, it'll look as good as a water-based paint anyway. So I just got tired of trying to fight water-based paints with my airbrush. All right, so let's get on to the decaling. Ta-da! So everybody remember, what's the first thing you do when you're ready to decal? Who's got the right answer? It's the most important step in decaling. Anyone? Yeah, lick your fingers. Get Robert to do it. No. You have to, when you're doing, and this is just water slide decals. I'm not talking about press on decals. You got to put your visor on, pray. All kinds of answers there. You have to put a gloss coat on. It has to be glossy paint. It has to be glossy paint. Yes, and the surface does have to be clean, absolutely. So if you don't brush your teeth, yes, okay. All right. And if the paint's not glossy, the decals aren't going to stick real well. So plus you're going to see decal film after you apply it. So I mean that's just guaranteed. You got to start with the glossiest surface you can possibly have. And you know, it's funny, if you look at most railroads, when stuff comes out of a paint shop, the paint's glossy. It's not flat. Most railroads, as soon as it comes out of the paint shop, it is glossy paint. And it just gets flat through being blasted with dirt and having grime on it, over time. That's why it looks flat over a short period of time. So, but anyway, for decaling, you have to start with the glossy surface. So I've taken my thing here, and I'm going to point my camera down now so you can see what I'm doing. The high speed boom, the better the higher the gloss, the better. That is for definite sure. And I just use gloss. I don't even worry with semi gloss. I use glossy paint. So you're going to have much better results. So I've got I started on this side, and one thing I wanted to do, because I didn't want to do this on camera because it took me about almost an hour to just do this one thing. See the where it says LNA 58-A? That was the original number, and KCS kept those on their engines up until they repainted them in the late 70s. Just at the end of their engines, they kept on they kept the original number, and then usually just changed the main number on the number boards, which is, as we talked before, this is going to be 95. But this is this LNA 58-A. I had to do each individual character on here because there's no decal sheet that has them. So unfortunately. Yeah. Yes, this is the new iPhone. And you know what? This phone, the build date's on the bottom of it, and it is July of 1959, and this phone works better than any phone I use anywhere else. So this is a great phone. So I still have a dial phone. So it, like I said, it took me an hour almost to put those on, and I had to do it on the other side too, because there's no decal that does it. So I ended up doing it just at one individual letter at a time, and they're tiny, so it wasn't fun. So glossy paint, and I'm going to go ahead and put the I'm going to go ahead. I put the S on already. So I forget who it was. It was Riley or somebody asking about the stripe. So the stripe is KCS is between the stripe. You can see the stripes broken up, and it's going to be the same thing on this side. So one thing unusual about this, and I always, if you're trying to replicate something, have a picture up in front of you. Don't do it from memory, because it's going to be a nightmare trying to do it from memory. So on this side, because the stripe went up against the S, it was curved. I don't know if you can see that, but that's how it was on the engine. The stripe wasn't straight at the end. It was actually curved to the shape of the letter S. So and it was only in that one place, because on the other side, the S butts up against the seam. The stripe butts up against one of the rivet seams, and then and on this side is going to be the K, so the K is straight, so the stripe's just going to end straight. So what I'm going to do is I put the S on because I know it goes right up against the rivet seam, but the K goes right up against this rivet seam. So what I'm going to do is to make sure I'm going to put the K on first, and that way I can center the C between the K and the S, so I don't have to guess where it should go. And all I'm going to do, you either get a sharp pair of scissors or an X-Acto knife, whatever you want to cut with. These are big enough I can cut with a pair of scissors. So that's how I'm going to cut them. And you want to trim them as close as you can to the decal without cutting into the decal, of course. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to trim very carefully. And then, yeah, you want to leave as little decal film as possible. Or Sparky for you, Decal film. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to even cut up, inside the K. Since my wife's Canadian, she's always correcting me, Sparky, saying it's not decal, it's Decal. Uh, High speed boom. It's just you know, like I do when I match color. I just take a photograph and get it as close as I can. That's really all I do. Um, unless you can actually find the real thing. I I honestly don't know how these some of these model manufacturers do it, because like KCS, there's nowhere the records just don't exist for what color, the exact PPG color specifications for the paint. The records just aren't there. So I don't know if they don't take pictures and just make their best estimate as well. So Closet Branch, you really only have to put gloss where you're putting the decals on. You don't have to put it on the entire um, thing you're painting. This probably most, I didn't really put any gloss on the top of this. I sprayed the sides. I mean, I'm sure they've got some gloss on the top, but but really you only have to put gloss where you're putting the decals, because once you put spray another coat of gloss over it and then flat, it's gonna hide it anyway. You're not gonna be able to tell. So, oh, my model showed up. Let me see if I can get her up here. So here's my model. So everybody say hi to Callie. Aha. She's a YouTube star now. So she's running around back here. So I soak this and then I put it off on the paper a minute to make sure it saturates well. Yeah, Riley, that's right. They could have, and some railroads or their historical societies have kept records on the paints. Uh, Kansas City Southerns just happen not to. So um, all the paint records were from uh, the old paint shop was torn down in the late '90s, and I just found that out yesterday. The old paint shop was torn down. When they did, they threw away all their archival records, so which was kind of silly. So I mean, some of the historical societies might still have uh, older paint schemes. So all I do is wait till I know the decal will slide easily on the paper, and this one is. So you can either take a toothpick or the back edge of your X-Acto knife and slide it on. So I'm just gonna take the back edge of my. Don't use the front edge because it could tear it. Um, like I just did. But I might be able to save it. I have an extra set if I can't save this one. So I just want to make sure it's straight. Try to get it as wrinkle free as possible from the beginning. All right, so that matches what's on the other side. It's just spaced like a 32nd of an inch from the seam, and you can see where I tore it. So I love it when I do stuff like that, especially on camera. Yeah, I don't know why they wouldn't keep their records. I'm kind of surprised that the historical society didn't keep them. Even if the paint shop didn't. Um, so if you want to move it around a little bit, just wet it again. But if you get it too wet, you can just stick the corner of your paper towel there and soak up some of the. Oh, I can't believe I tore it. Oh boy. So I'm not even going to try to fix it. It's probably going to take me longer to fix it than it is just to put a new one. Luckily, I have more than one set. So yeah, I know, but it just didn't. It was really I was going to have to fiddle with it. And then the thing is too, when you put the Solvaset on it, you don't know what's going to happen with the tear. So So I'm just going to go ahead and do another one. I've got, like I said, I've got an extra set here, so it's not that big a deal. I always buy when I buy decals, I buy 2 sets just in case. And that's what I did here. Like I said, you can do this with an X-Acto knife or scissors. Just whatever you're doing it with, make sure it's sharp. Whether it's X-Acto knife or scissors. That's all you've got to really um, watch out for. James, I bought these from directly from Microscale. Um, so and I do that because I know that when I get them from Microscale, they're new. If you've ever tried to use an old decal, they crumble sometimes. So uh, just so I know that they're the only bad thing about buying from Microscale is you have to submit a minimum order, and I think it's like $30 or something like that. So I that's why I try to buy several at a time anyway. So, and you got to buy. I don't know why Microscale does this, um, but they don't put all of the decals you need on one decal sheet, and and nobody does. When Oddballs was making their stuff, they didn't. Harold King, nobody put all the decals you needed on one decal sheet. So, like this, there was no red stripes that came with the KCS decals. I had to buy a separate red stripe sheet because they make 4 and 6 inch stripes for HO scale. For the builder's plates, I had to buy a separate decal sheet for the builder's plates. For the ACI labels, I think you can get about 4, Wilmer, for $30. For the uh, like I said, the ACI labels, you have to buy those separate. So I don't know why a decal company won't make all the decals you need for an engine. I just it's really it's really strange. All right, so this one's sliding easily also. Sometimes you want to wet the area a little bit. There we go. All right. So now I will slide the decal carefully so I don't tear this one. Can you all see what I'm doing there? So, all right. So when you got it about where you want it, make sure I just use the corner of a paper towel to get the excess water up. And then And so you look at it, make sure it's straight. You look at it that way, and then I always sight it down this way to make sure it's lined up as well. And it is. So once it's lined up where you want it to be, oh, and I just moved it by trying to blot it with my paper towel. Okay, so once it's lined up and now it's dry, I have Solvaset. That's what I've always used, and that's why I use Solvaset. And that's the only reason. I It is a bicycle. um, that is the only reason I use Solvaset, is because this is what I've always used. You can use Microsol and Microset, and other companies have their own stuff too. So, but if you use Solvaset, it only comes in one strength. So make sure that you have one that you've watered down. And all I did with this one, it's just 60% Solvaset and 40% water is all it is. Uh, this one will soften the decal. This one will actually melt it. So that's the difference between the two. And what I do is after I get the decals on there, I will actually soften them somewhat, let them dry for a few minutes, and then I will put the full strength Solvaset on there and let it melt into the paint. And you especially want to do that with the fragile decals, the tiny ones, like these letters. I use the 60% stuff on the letters and let them completely dry, and then I put the full strength stuff on there. If I'd put the full strength stuff on there, they would have really deformed and they wouldn't have looked good. So you have to remember that when you're doing tiny decals, that you can't use the full strength stuff right away. And doing the decals isn't hard. It's just tedious. And I'm sorry I'm not watching the chat right now, but go ahead and talk amongst yourselves, and I'll answer questions in a minute. Oh, that's good enough for that. So I'll throw it in the water over here. Oh. So, James, where are those two places in Canada that have decals or decals? Um, oh, I know, Wilmer. You do have a hard time with the tiny little letter. I mean, those are just like I said. These little ones on the end here are all. I had to put those all on individually because there was nothing. There wasn't a string of decals that had what I needed on it. So those tiny little, and like I said, it takes me an hour or more just to put on those few little decals on the end here. So it's just, you're not the only one. It's just And sometimes you just can't get them to line up, and then you put the next one on, and it knocks the other one out of alignment. You're just Black Cat in Aberdeen. Okay. Okay, so I'll pull the decal out here and let it sit on the paper towel a minute. So now that I have the K and the S on, I can center the C in there where I need it. So, and I just had a toothpick here. You ever do that? Know that something's right in front of you and you can't find it? Yeah, it is, Riley. Sometimes you've got to piece together sets from other things. All right, that seems, and a good set of tweezers here would help. And I don't know why I don't have them, because I just forgot to bring them. Is the only reason I don't. Oh, don't tear. Don't tear. I'd hate to have this tear twice on me in one live stream. Then I really would look silly. Making two mistakes. So like I said, just wet it if it's not sliding real well. So all right, too much water. There we go. And I've got just the right amount of water to slide it around. So now, see, now I can see that because I put ones on either side, I can see that the C is centered like it's supposed to be. And once again, I'll sight down the edge and make sure everything's even. If you look at it from different perspectives, hey, Ron, how are you doing? If you look at it from different perspectives, one sighting down the edge that way or sighting back that way, looking at it upside down, you can catch stuff. Your eye will catch things that you didn't think was there or not there. Okay, so very softly, because see, you can move it when you pat it. And see, that's the thing is when you've I got to put some more water back on it. When you have a gloss coat, they're going to be hard to slide once you get them on there and dab the water off of them. They're not going to want to slide. They stick. But that's what you're looking for. Okay, so I'm going to be real careful again just to make sure all the water is off of it, so I don't move it. There we go. All right. Hopefully that looks good. And what I'm going to do is now I'm going to take the 60% stuff and put it on there. And it's got a little brush on the end, so I'm just going to try not to move everything. I'm just going to try to drop the stuff on there so I don't move the decal. Like I said, this'll soften the decal. It won't melt it. But whatever you do at this point, don't touch it. Okay? It might wrinkle up, it might move a little bit. Just don't touch it unless you're prepared to pull the decal off and redo it again. So, that Solvaset's going to soften it enough to where it's going to, if you try to move it, it's going to make a mess. So I'm just going to leave it on like that. Then the other thing I'm going to do while we're waiting, see how much more time do we have. Wow, I can't believe time goes by so quickly. Is I'm going to do the last piece of striping between this rear door and the K. So, okay, let me go back and read. Yep, Wilmer. You do. Sometimes you get all the numbers lined up, and then you'll put the last little one on, and it kind of moves the other ones, and you're just and you do want to throw it against the wall. And Ron, you're right. You can, when you have older decals that are dried out, you can get some stuff. I know Microscale makes some stuff, and probably other companies do too. But you can coat the decals again so you can use them. That's exactly right. Okay, one thing I've got to do is, okay, I've got a good square end on this one, so I'm going to use this stripe. And I'm going to get it close to the length I need, which is right there. Now stripes are fun because they will. These are the worst when you've got old decals because these stripes will tear. Oh, they're a pain. Yeah, Wilmer, I don't know how long. Yeah, thanks, Anthony. I'm glad you did. I don't know how long that these decals last, and some of them are better than others. Uh, but as Ron said just a little bit ago, you can get some stuff to put on old decals that make them usable. Yeah, I know, Dwight. I have some decals that are that old from models too. And you just got I can't remember the name of that stuff that you put on them. Like I said, I know Microscale makes it, and I'm sure other people do too. It's just some kind of varnish that makes the decal usable again instead of tearing. So, One thing I should have done before I wet this is I should have trimmed it to exactly the size I needed, which I didn't do. And I think that's just about perfect. Eyeballing it, so. Make some, make this a little wet again. So there we go. There we go. And if I put it right up against, okay, so it doesn't go, this red stripe doesn't go right below or right on this, the rivet seam. It goes just a hair above it. So I gotta make sure that I allow for that. And I think if I get the excess water out of it, I can do that. There we go. Whew. Is it getting dark in here? Or is it just my shadow being cast over the... All right, so let me put the 60% stuff on the stripe. And there's a few, I mean, there's a few more decals that need to go on this side. The ACI label goes here in the builder's plate, and put decals for the kick plates on the door too. But I don't think we're going to get to those tonight. Like I said, once these dry from the 60% stuff, I will actually put the full strength stuff on there, and that will make them really, snuggle down into the crevices and look like it's painted on rather than a decal. Now, once these decals are dry, completely dry, what I do is I go and wash it again. And you can wash it with just plain soap and water. Once the Solvaset's melted the decals into place, you shouldn't have any problem washing. Just don't scrub on them. But you won't have any problem washing it. And once it's completely dry, I'm going to put a nice layer of gloss coat over it. You can't skip the gloss coat steps. That's what makes it look like it's painted on rather than a decal. You put on your Solvaset, let it dry, wash it, and then put a gloss coat over it. once you do that, if you need to get it back to flat, then you just spray a flat coat over it. But you can't skip the second gloss coat step. So don't ever skip the second gloss coat step. So how is yeah, and like I said, I'm just going to let this dry now. I'm not going to touch it. Once you put the Solvaset on it, either the 60 or the full strength, don't touch it. It's going to wrinkle up. Just let it alone. So all right. So let me put my camera back up without making everybody dizzy. Uh, it doesn't want to stay up, does it? Oh boy. Always technical issues, aren't there? I think that's as close as I'm going to get it. So, all right. So, does anybody have any questions, comments, complaints? So, Riley, what piece would be 3.5 by 3 feet? Did I lose everybody, or is everybody just quiet? Huh. Oh, I see. Um, I don't know. A lot of times you can buy them. Um, I've seen on eBay the 4-foot KCS logo that they use on their hopper cars for sale. It's like and they sell it like for $25, so it's not as expensive as you would think it would be, or maybe yeah, about $25, I think. So, and you can always get some friendly with somebody at a yard, the train yard, where they repaint stuff, where you can get stuff like that. So I said, I don't know who makes the ones that's on eBay that they're selling for KCS. They're 4 foot by 4 foot, so they're the octagon shaped ones. But yeah, they sell them on eBay. So the same ones they use on their freight cars. Yeah, Wilmer, that is great. I actually have two coffee makers. If you see, I've got one that makes a full pot of coffee, and then I've got that little one, the Batman one, that makes 1 cup of coffee. So in case I just want 1 cup. So I actually have two coffee makers in my office here. So I'm going to have one out of my workshop. Yeah, and a lot of those freight car decals, they're actually stick on. They're you actually peel off the back and stick them on. So yeah, well, the bathroom's just right outside my door, so it's not it's not that big a deal. Yeah, that's all I need. If I put a bathroom in here, then that would be it. Something good is I'm rolling on my train room finally. So I've got to get in touch with the guys to come and pour the cement slab, and so because I finally have all that business done, so I should be this month and into the first of next month getting the train room built. However long it takes to get the permits from the city and all that kind of crazy stuff, but. Yay, I'm gonna have a train room again and a layout. What type of paint do model manufacturers? It varies from the manufacturer. Yeah, Ron, I will. It's going to be nice. So yeah, I don't know what type of paint most of the manufacturers use. I know a good solvent to take it off is denatured alcohol. If you use denatured alcohol, it's 100% alcohol or 99.9%, something like that. Just it's the same stuff you can get it at Home Depot or Lowe's or Ace Hardware, wherever you go. So if you ever have to strip paint off your models, you test it first. But I know Athens, it strips it really well off of Athens, and it's the same stuff you use in your camping stove, the denatured alcohol. So it doesn't attack the plastic at all. So it's good to use. That's what I always use to strip paint if I have to. Yeah, like I said, it shouldn't be any problem with. I know it's no problem with Athens, so I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure most of the other ones would be the same way. So yeah, I'm going to be glad when I get my layout started, but it's going to be a long road. I don't know if Coleman fuels denatured alcohol or not. You can read on it. If Wilmer, if you just go to Lowe's, like I said, a hardware store, and it'll say camp stove fuel on it, or fuel for camp stoves, but it's just or it'll just say denatured alcohol on it. It's pretty cheap. You get a gallon of it for like $5 or $6. So, and if you ever run into a problem where when you're ballasting or gluing down scenery, you can actually use it in place of isopropyl alcohol as well. Yeah, Anthony, my train shed is going to be. I'm debating. I'm either going to do 16 by 34 or 16 by 36. Just kind of that extra 2 feet between the cement and the construction's almost $1,000. Just that extra 2 feet. So I'm still debating, but at the smallest it's going to be 16 by 34. So and it's going to be around the wall with the island in the middle. And I showed, I don't know if I have it here. I showed it on the last. Here it is without the buildings on it. I showed it without. So this is the layout design So it's a 32-inch radius is the minimum radius, and number 6 switches are the minimum size switch. All the yards will have number 6. The main line and the crossovers will be number 8s. So, but that's the layout design there. So, so yeah, well, James, the way mine's going, I mean, if they have to wait on the county for permits and everything, it's going to be at least the middle of summer before I get started. Before I get started on building the layout part. So, luckily, like I was saying on the last live thing I did, I'm having Tough Shed do it, and they're all over the U.S. But so Tough Shed's actually going to put workbench, 2 foot wide workbench around all the walls. So that much will be done. The only thing I'm going to have to build is the island part. So I'm going to have a lot of my, by the time when the shed's built, I'm going to have a lot of my layout bench work done as well at the same time. So, because that's, I guess, like Wilmer hates wiring. I hate doing bench work. So, yeah, that's probably a good thing. And I'm going to eventually, hopefully, you know, have a heater air conditioner unit in it so I can keep it at a reasonable temperature. But you're right, and I will be laying track over the summer and fall. So, but in Texas, fall is like summer, so it doesn't matter. It's still, in October it's still in the 90s. So yeah, because I've seen some bad things happen when track expands. Really buckles really badly, and you wouldn't think it would as much as it. Maybe I ought to have one piece that when I leave, when I come out in the evening, I can just take out one whole, maybe a 12-inch piece that I could just pull out. Because I know it does expand. Yeah. Yeah, it does. It does do that. So, did I tell you at the beginning gloves? If you can find gloves in this crazy world we're in now, always handle your model with gloves after you wash it, because that keeps all the oil and junk and the dirt off your fingers from getting on your model. So I always handle mine with gloves after I've washed it. That's way it keeps the paint nice and fresh. You don't get fingerprints on it, because you can get fingerprints, burned into your paint just from the heat of your hand. So, wow, a 2 millimeter gap. That's pretty big. Yeah, it's amazing how much it'll expand. So, wow, I can't believe we've been going for an hour and 15 minutes already. That's just crazy. It's not even possible. Hey, I appreciate all you guys showing up. I really do. This is great. I hope you got something out of it. Um, I enjoy doing it. I'd rather sit here and do it with somebody than just sit here and do it by myself. So, everybody, you take care, and you can say your goodbyes now. If you want to promote your channel, go ahead. Uh, yeah, and high speed boom. I I haven't had that problem. 100% alcohol, like the denatured alcohol. I haven't had a problem with it hurting the plastic. I mean, there could be some types of plastics or some brands that, because of the way it's formed, that it could hurt. That's why I say if you're going to do something, I'd test it first on something But I haven't had a problem with it so far. Glad you enjoyed it, Wilmer. Anthony, good to see y'all in here. It's been fun, but I don't want to. I'm sure it's getting close to bedtime for you guys on the East Coast, so y'all take care, and we will see you next time. I think next time what I'm going to do is I'll have this finished, so I'm probably going to do a decoder install for the next live stream. Haha. So if you want to see a decoder install on this F unit, this will be this will be what I do. Take it easy. Always good watching someone else work. Great supervisor there, Ron. Come here. I have another cat. He came to see what was going on. Take care, and we'll see y'all later.